Get your man the flute to play song, the fuck.
Diagwits everybody, Kojima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 103 of the Inline G Flute Podcast with me, your host, Inline G. And greetings from a very sunny Germany. You can see out the window there, it's a beautiful day. It's actually a bank holiday day today as well. Well, today, not the day that you're listening to this, the day that I'm recording it. This podcast is coming to you from the past. And I'm actually fresh, like literally fresh off the train from Aachen. It's why I'm wearing the same clothes that I was in the actual interview, which we're about to get to. Aachen, great city, just out in the west of Germany, very close to the border with Belgium and Holland, which is one of the reasons why I was up there for today's very special guest. I'm collecting top European flute players like Infinity Stones, and this is another one to stick on the list. So this week's guest is the principal flute of the Royal Antwerp Symphony, professor at both the Royal Conservatory in Antwerp and the Utrecht Conservatory, international soloist, chamber musician, recording artist, and champagne connoisseur, Aldo Baerten. You're probably all familiar with Aldo anyway, and if you're not, shame on you. But it's okay. This episode is the perfect way to learn all about him, and his teaching methods, and his philosophies, and his extensive orchestral experience, and general baller flute knowledge. And also, a few of Aldo's past students have been on this very podcast. Keep an eye out for them. And they've all been pestering me for months to get him on, so I'm delighted to finally do it. Today, the stars have finally aligned in the basement of an architectural museum in Aachen. So, regular listeners of this podcast, you know what I'm about to say here, but if you're new to the Inline G podcast, just give me your ears for a minute or two. The Inline G podcast is free, and it will always be free. That is a guarantee. But if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute Podcast. It costs €5 a month. And with that, you're basically keeping the podcast alive. I do an episode of this podcast every single Friday for 103 weeks. That is 4 episodes a month. If you like what I'm doing, if you listen to one episode or you listen to all the episodes and you think, that was great, it was free, I would love to buy Gareth a pint or a cup of coffee to say thank you. You can now do it digitally. You can sign up over there and you can unsubscribe at any time. So you can go in and subscribe for €5 and then unsubscribe immediately. And then that way you're just giving me a one-off $5 donation, which is very appreciated because times are hard out there, lads. I do everything on my own in this podcast. It's the definition of a small independent podcast. I do everything around here and I love it very, very much. But it's nice to finally get paid and recognized for my work and my artistic input. You are supporting a small independent podcast. This is not Joe Rogan, okay? We don't have the budget of that here. It's just me, myself, and I. So if you can afford to support the podcast, it is massively appreciated. And also, while I will say there are no sponsors on this podcast, I've turned them all down because we are the biggest flute podcast in the world, 100% listener funded. It is so rock and roll. I love it. So you guys are the MVPs. We're building the best flute community on the internet here, in the world here. So if you can afford to, go sign up over on Patreon. But listen, if you can't, okay, times are hard, things are tough. You might be like me, you might have no money. Don't worry. You can keep listening for free. Someone else who can afford it is paying so that you can listen for free. It is a system based on kindness and soundness. Thank you very much. So, here is this week's Inline G Flute Podcast with Aldo Baerten. Do you know, the main reason I got you on as well is because 2 of my former guests on this podcast are former students of yours. And they both recommended that I get you on.
Really?
They're highly in demand. So the first one was Alice Brie, the French girl. She was with you. And then the person who really pushed is Juan Casillo.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, he talks about you a lot. He really said, you have to get Aldo on the podcast. And I was like, Juan, I will. Nice. I was actually talking to Juan last night. So I've done my homework on you and I've got all the things I know about you. So yeah, Juan told me everything. Yeah, do you remember Juan Harris, obviously?
Of course. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Juan as a student?
Such a talented guy.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Natural.
He's doing great now as well.
He just plays.
Yeah.
And with a beautiful sound, and it was a good time with him when he was there.
Yeah, he seemed to really enjoy the lessons with you. Do you know, I don't want to cover you in glory or get too sentimental here, but they both really enjoyed studying with you. So I asked them, does he have any philosophies or any particular things about teaching that I think are noteworthy or you think are noteworthy? And they first of all both said the same thing. They mentioned that you teach very young children as well.
Yes.
So tell me, first of all, where do you teach at the minute? So where's your teaching jobs at the minute?
I'm working for the Royal Conservatoire in Antwerp.
Yep.
I'm working in Utrecht at the Hogeschool der Kunsten. And I still have a little job which I took when I was 19.
Okay.
I just got my paper that I could teach.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later they call me.
Okay.
And they say, we have a job for you 10 kilometers from home.
Perfect.
And I arrived on a Saturday morning and there were 48 kids for the day.
48?
So they were all per 4 in an hour.
So
I did
group lessons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to be present.
Okay.
And each one had 15 minutes all the time.
Wow.
So you can imagine how I felt when I came out in the evening.
That's like 12 hours.
Exactly.
That was quick math there.
Exactly. I was 19, so let's say
yeah, you had the energy for it, yeah.
But indeed, and I did it for many years, and then I stopped a little, and now I'm back at that school.
Still with 48 students?
No, the Flute numbers are going down
a
lot, especially in Belgium.
Okay.
So it's I'm going to work on that with everybody there because I think we need lots of young people playing the flute.
Wow.
On all kinds of levels. Whether you are 7 years old and you start playing and you find it fun, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there is all kinds of possibilities after, but you have to start somewhere.
So how come you've went back to teaching young children then? Because it's quite rare for someone who teaches in like a Hochschule and major conservatoires to go back to teaching children. Not many people do that.
Yeah, well, I always kept that job. So at one point they said, look, we can have you again.
Yeah.
There is enough work. And I also felt that I could do some good work there.
Okay.
If you start with kids, you really put the layer on the strongest part.
Yeah.
And then from there you can build your studio, your people coming to you. Also adults, a lot of adults go back to the music schools and play again and take lessons again.
I know.
So it's good because music is so important to our society and to us all.
It is. I have to say I love teaching adult beginners. That's one of my great passions because first of all, they're partying with their money. They've worked hard to get their money and they're choosing to spend it on you and they're very conscious they're spending it on you. They put time and effort into it, their dedication. They're usually very passionate about music. Like they're doing this all, like we do it as a job, we're paid for it, but they're doing it aside from their job. I think that's the backbone of it. I love teaching adult beginners. They've always got a passion from it. And kids as well, I really enjoy teaching them. I don't know if you find the same thing, but I find when I teach children, I really have to think about my teaching styles to make sure I adapt the language and approach to explain the basics, which then feeds back into myself. It gives me a more solid understanding of what I'm teaching. Do you find the same?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. And you have to go back and think, okay, how did I do that?
Yeah.
How did I talk to them?
Yeah.
In a sort of easy way, so they get it, not with difficult words, but just, and play a lot for them, I find also.
Do you play a lot for your students then in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I had very good teachers, and it's still all up there.
Yeah.
And I find that so important that we know where we come from. And of course we are different when we've done the whole path ourselves.
Yeah.
But we always have to go back, I think, to the first stage.
That's interesting. I like the way you play for your students. I think that's a huge thing. I love duets, and some of my favourite lessons I had when I studied in Paris, for example, were doing duets with my teachers. I think my favourite lessons were when we just did duets. I feel like I learned a lot just watching someone who was so good, so musical, so coordinated and coherent with their approach to sight reading as well. And you just get to sit and watch them and be like, yeah, I'll just do that. It's great, I'll just do that. You don't need to explain it, whatever that is. I'm just going to try and do it.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. So I suppose what I wanted to ask you first then, because you do a lot of teaching, my first proper question is, what do you think makes a great teacher? What are the qualities of a great teacher?
Patience. Trying to find for everybody the right path.
Okay.
Like, is this the moment to do this kind of repertoire? Is this what you should play when you make a class concert? Is it too difficult? Is it not difficult enough? Because then they get bored. Sometimes they just want to go for it. Yeah. And then we sort of say, maybe it's too difficult. But they don't find it. They just go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah. So that's very important. And then trying to give them all the basics
Okay.
for the future.
Yeah.
Now, when it's amateur playing, they might do a little less, just finger work, and But some people really like it and say, "Look, I want to become better.
Yeah.
So give me difficult stuff."
Yeah.
And that's fun to hear that
Yeah.
somebody really wants to go into the center of that thing.
Yeah. Finger exercise as well. Yeah, I want to get on to all that. But okay, let's talk about absolute beginners as children.
Mm-hmm.
What are the basics? What are the kind of things you want to install in children?
Breathing,
Okay.
sound production.
So, for example, first lesson, child of 6 years old, very first flute
You
lesson.
can play on the head joint.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything else, but show them, for example, things you can do with a flute. Yeah, you can do overblowing, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Then holding long tones,
Yeah.
so you actually feel what you can do with the air.
Yeah. Okay. Do you
Because
talk
that-
about breathing in itself, though? Do you talk about like the?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
I try. Sometimes I do it in group lessons, where, for example, they can sit back to back, and that's quite a very interesting exercise. So
Okay.
sit on the ground.
Yeah.
Back to back, and then just observe what the breathing does in your body. And then they go like, "Oh, but it also moves at the back."
Yeah.
And it moves here.
Yeah.
So
That's an interesting
it's
idea.
great when they sort of find out, "Oh, there's a lot happening when we do
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
And from there you can start.
Okay. So you're not specifically teaching them what happens. It's more like discovery. Let them work it out.
And then when they have that, after a couple of lessons,
Yeah.
I would say get a good method. Like I always
Okay.
use Garibaldi,
Okay.
and then a lot of little pieces immediately as they can, because the etudes, of course, we need it a little bit
Yeah.
to get our good level up.
Yeah.
But there is a moment where you have to really say, okay, let's play something. What I always had, I had in the middle of my day, I had always 1 hour of playing together.
Okay. Okay.
And so, as it was in a school, there was 1 hour dedicated to let's play and make a flute choir, and then everybody can play. And that's easy for everybody, because even if you have a 67-year-old student and she still wants to learn,
Yeah.
then she gets the energy from the others, and they will really get also the sound already through them also, not only through the
Yeah,
teacher,
from each other.
but also
Yeah.
from each other. And I think that works
Yeah.
really well.
Also, playing with other people is so important, I think, because it can be like, I'm amazed at my students who practice all the time but don't want to do concerts. This is more my adult beginners who don't want to do concerts. They're not in it for that. They're too shy and they just want to play on their own. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you can do that. Like, I need to play with other people. That's the motivation for me. I think it's a very social thing to make music.
Yeah.
And to do it on your own is very difficult, I think. So playing with flute choirs, I think it's great. It gives them so many social skills and teach them how to talk to each other.
Yes. And when the Corona time was there, it was very important. They came to their lesson.
Yeah.
When the bubbles were
Yeah.
changing. And so we always found out for every week, like, this week we can do this.
Yeah.
With these and these and these people.
Yeah.
And then they play. But you bring a little coffee and a little cake, because for them it was also very tough.
Yeah.
Not just for the students and the people in the
Yeah.
jobs, but those who love doing that flute. And
Yeah.
everything was gone.
Yeah.
And so we did in small bubbles, and we made a little coffee, and we talked, and also about how they felt.
Okay.
I can't come to my lesson, but maybe if we do something in a group together,
Yeah.
maybe we can find a way to still play.
To do something.
Yeah.
Is that something you think is important as a teacher, is to have that kind of connection with your students?
I think it's important.
On a personal level?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Of course, it has limits, because
course,
you're not
yeah.
their father or mother
Exactly.
or whatever. But we have a little backpack with a lot of ideas in it, and once in a while you can help them with that.
Yeah, because I also find, like, especially, you'll probably notice this more teaching people of all ages, but for example, if you take someone coming to conservatoire or Hochschule when they're 18, they've maybe travelled from another country, they've left their family behind, they're in a brand new city, and they're there essentially for you, really.
Yeah.
Like, you're the most important person in their life. And I think you have to be aware of that, and you have to make
Yes.
sure that you there is a certain amount of caregiving and looking after them that comes with it, because it is a really intense relationship with your teacher, the one-to-one teacher thing.
Yes, because they actually come for you.
Yeah.
So if you are not there, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And we see also more and more that students like on the conservatoire level, Hochschule, there is a lot of foreigners.
Yeah.
And they work, I mean, a lot of my students work in the Spar or in the supermarket to pay their lessons. So I feel even more responsible that they are sitting there for 8 hours in a supermarket
just to
be able to pay that fee.
Yeah.
I find that quite astonishing. I mean, when we were kids, we didn't have that. It was almost free. I had in Brussels when I was starting. I was 17 in the Hochschule, and we paid 22 euros for a year. Can you imagine? Yeah.
Do you know a lot of my listeners of this podcast are American? They're going to be freaking out at the idea that it's 22 euros.
But isn't it fantastic?
It should be like that. The arts is for everybody.
I think it's very important.
Yeah. It is. So you find that relationship then important to have to look after your students?
I think so, because if they're not happy, they cannot play well.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to be there every week saying, are you well?
Exactly.
You know, not exaggeration.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're just miserable because they're far from home,
Exactly.
or stuff is not working out, and they're far. And please, can you help me? Or
Yeah.
it's important.
And being aware of that and just being aware of it, I think is a big role as well.
Yeah.
As you said, and the world is getting smaller. It's not just students travel within Europe now. People are coming from Asia and America and South America, which is like I left Ireland to go to Cardiff, which is like technically the same country from Northern Ireland to Cardiff. It's like a 35-minute flight, and I felt like I was in a foreign country. It was really hard for me. And I don't know how an 18-year-old comes from South Korea to Germany. A totally different culture, different language, different world.
It's really tough.
At 18 years old, you're a baby at 18 years old.
Yes.
So I think there is a certain amount of duty with the teacher, but it's it's within reason, obviously. But it's nice to see teachers take that role on. A lot of so Juan and Elise both said that about your teaching. Elise actually used the word that it felt like a safe space when you taught her. She always felt like it was more collaborative. So instead of like teacher student, it was we're going to work together.
Well, they are sort of already adults. Of course, they need more information, but that doesn't mean that they don't have their opinions or what they would like to play in their concert or not. Yeah, because they're young adults and they have their opinion, and that's good. Also, we need people with opinions.
You want the strong opinions from your students.
Yes.
Then?
I think it will bring them further on a bigger path than if you put them in a corner and say no, just do what I say.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just ask them, what do you think about this? Or if we have a group lesson and they play for each other, and you say, what did you appreciate about this? Is it okay? And it's important for them to have this.
I agree entirely. There was something else I wanted to say about that, which I made a note of, and I've forgotten. I've lost my train of thought. But I'm gonna move on a little bit from teaching just for a second, because I'm very aware of the time, and you're holding your flute. So I forget to do this every episode. Okay, I'm meant to talk to my guests about their flutes, and then I get too carried away talking about other things. They're very interesting people, and I forget to talk about it. So your flute, very first question, because some people won't be watching, they'll be listening. I can see, but do you play offset or inline G?
Offset.
Tell me why.
Because I started on an offset flute.
Oh really? Okay.
A 211 Yamaha, and it had offset.
Is that quite common in Belgium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I have small fingers.
Okay.
So for me, this key is right on the good spot.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I have to clamp it a little bit down.
Yeah.
So I always, some people have these kind of fingers, and then it's okay.
Yeah.
But I have small fingers, so I've always played offset. I had one flute only, which was inline, and it sort of gave me pain.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I tend to play always then offset. And,
interesting. Okay, because not a lot of players in Europe play. I think a lot of French players, for example, they'll play inline still.
Yes.
Germans play inline quite commonly. The United Kingdom's all offset now, but I wasn't sure about Belgium. So offset G, tell me about the flute in general, because it looks like a Rolls Royce of an instrument, man.
It's a Powell flute.
Yeah.
Which is made in Boston.
Yeah.
I'm also a Powell artist.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy with that. And in my summer class, for example, they come with show instruments. And
Powell come over to your summer thing? Oh, cool.
In Bruges. in Bruges,
Yeah.
near the seaside in Belgium.
And
And
Bruges,
also
yeah.
they sometimes help us with providing a guest.
Oh, really? Okay.
So sometimes we have a guest from Powell, and they come to the summer class and they play, and they
Okay.
also teach with us.
Who would you have had then in the past? What kind of players?
For example,
I'm trying to think who's a PAL artist. Is Adam Walker a PAL artist?
no,
No.
don't think so. No.
Cut that out.
No, we had a few French people, like Bernold was then war. And
yeah.
and this year we do something special because I think Bartold Kuiken is 80 or something, and we're having Bartold for 3 days.
How well do you know Bartold? Do you know him well? Have you?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
He is an unbelievable
Exactly,
player. Like
exactly.
one of the absolute best, one of the best musicians in the planet for me. I've never heard a player like him.
Yes,
So he's coming to your course?
Yes, he will be there for 3 days, and that's going to be a great day because I mean, this is the first generation of people playing on the older instruments.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that now it's as much as the
Isn't
normal
it crazy?
flute. Yes, and especially like in my country or in
Yeah.
Holland, there is so much Baroque playing.
There's a lot, yeah.
Now in Brussels, I think they have 2 full classes of Baroque playing.
Like that's wild. And that's only the last 10 years or 15 years we've really seen that pick up.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Where did that all come from?
I think there are more people on Earth, and we know more about everything.
Yeah.
We have the connection also with the shakuhachi and everything, so
Yeah.
we know so much. And therefore, I think the flute classes are still getting bigger,
Yeah.
and there's more people still interested in playing it.
Okay.
And therefore, I think there is still going on a lot around the flute.
There is, and I love this. I'm happy to see the Baroque thing rising a little bit. I've never even tried one, so I've never played a Baroque flute. Have you been tempted yourself to give it a go?
Once or twice, but it's a very
Okay.
different way of blowing, of course.
Yeah,
You
so
don't-
just once or twice, you don't want to go again?
Well, no, I love it, but you know, when you do this well and
Yeah.
you do a little bit of piccolo and
Yeah.
you know, then it's already at the end of your possibilities,
It gets a little bit,
time-wise, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and you seem like a particularly busy man. You seem like you're a very busy guy. Tell me about the flute again. So what is it?
It's a Powell.
What kind of gold is it?
19.5.
Oh,
Yes, and I'm very happy with it, and it works really well, and it has a beautiful sound. I have to pick the instrument with the sound.
Okay.
So when you hear it, and you say, "Wow!" When I play it, I can make the sound which I use to tell my story.
Okay.
And also, if it makes you happy, it's good. No,
well, that the number one, isn't it? Yeah, because the placebo effect with instruments, I think, is really strong as well. If you feel like you like it, like for example, I play a Sankyo 5K gold.
I still have one.
You have one?
Yes.
They're hard to get these days.
Yes,
They're
I have
gold
one.
dust.
Yes,
What do you
I
think of
have
it?
Also very great.
They're great, aren't they?
A completely different sound than what we make now.
Yeah.
But so interesting. Not the biggest sound, but very colorful.
Yeah, and very, very delicate, I find.
Yes.
It's got a lovely, just a gentle resonance in it. But when I got offered that flute, I got it secondhand in Paris from a very strange Russian man. I don't think it was all totally legal, but I asked Sankyo, they told me it was fine. It was the first time that I could afford a gold flute because it was a reasonable price, under 10k. And that was a huge thing for me. It's just,
Yes.
I wanted to play on gold. I come from Belfast, and James Galway was everything to us.
Of course.
And he was playing the golden flute. And I think there was a little bit of placebo effect with that, where I'm just like, I'm playing on gold, and my brain just goes, this is great. You're playing on gold, it's a gold flute, and I play better because of it. So that's why I think when people are picking instruments, just pick whatever one you want. Don't get influenced by these ideas. Some people like gold, some people don't. But if it makes you happy, that's the one to go for.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of that.
If it's your voice,
yeah.
then it's right.
So how did you come across Powell?
How did I get there? Yes, well, I was a lot of times at the NFA in America.
I know.
There were
okay.
10 summers I was there.
You were there 10 times.
Straight. And I was also there, how was it called? I was the liaison officer between Europe and America.
Oh, really?
I did that
know
for 10
okay.
years. Yeah, it was very, very interesting because I met all the artists and I got more involved, and it was very nice. And then I tried flute, and then I found this one, and I thought, wow, let's keep this one.
But it was specifically this exact flute?
Yeah, I tried a few head joints, but I liked it immediately, and I could do on it what I wanted. So
Yeah, and that was it?
yeah.
Okay, did you play Powell before?
No, but I had a Yamaha, very simple one, 271, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Not even silver,
about to
maybe
say,
silver
yeah.
head joint or something, yeah.
That's what you were playing before?
Yes.
Did you play that in the orchestra?
No, I had in between, I had a German flute, Maynard,
I don't know that.
which is made around, where is it? I can't remember, but I always went there by car.
Okay.
Where are they? In near. I'll get my hand.
Somewhere near the border, though, like somewhere like.
No. I was always going to near Mannheim.
Oh, I know where you are. Yeah. Okay.
And I had that flute, but this one, of course, was much better than.
Yeah.
And then I kept it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about gold. Do you have any opinions on gold versus silver? It's a big topic at the minute, especially in America. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Price of gold's getting higher as well, so gold flutes are getting more and more expensive. Do you prefer gold in general, or is it just this one flute?
I think it's a flute where you can do what you want.
Okay.
Whether it is ornamented or it has this or that feature or whatever.
Yeah.
For example, I didn't go for this extra key.
The Smitty thing?
Yeah, well, it was on the flute.
So this thing here, what is that
This
actually?
is you can do several.
Oh, it's like a facilitator or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do this, and you don't use it all day, every day. But it was this flute which I wanted.
So it's just
so that
yeah.
extra key didn't bother me
Didn't
at all.
care, yeah.
And sometimes I use it, and it's handy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have maybe ordered it specially. With
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I found that flute, and I think that, again, the sound direct us where to go.
Okay.
And to really, really feel, here I can do what I want.
Okay. So when your students, for example, come to you and say, I want to buy a new flute, what do you advise them?
I mean, I know a few shops which has a lot of variety of instruments, and then I take my time. We just take a whole day. We go there. Sometimes I take 2 or 3 students. So
Oh, you go with them?
Yeah.
Nice,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then we're sure that we're going in the right direction already.
Okay.
Then you can still say, okay, this head joint is different, so I'd rather take that one.
Yeah.
But it's good to go with them. And then I always ask to take it for a week.
Okay.
And then usually by doing that, you go in the right direction and you say, okay, this could it be? And then you sometimes end up between 2.
Yeah.
And then it's close your eyes and only listen, and then say, okay, this is the one.
Yeah, because I feel like at some point you just have to make a decision, don't you?
Yeah.
Because you're never, I don't think anyone's ever 100% convinced. I think sometimes you're always like, but there might be that.
I think it's also like any relationship in life.
Yeah.
You adapt.
True.
That means you search, and then you say, oh, this works this way.
Yeah.
This works well, so
Let's
do
follow
that.
that one, yeah.
And if that works,
Very
and you
poetic,
say,
yeah.
now it's the one, and,
Yeah.
and everything fits together, well then,
It's very poetic. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I wouldn't say I have strong opinions on choosing flutes, but I think sometimes people put a little bit too much pressure on it. I think at the end of the day, a flute is a flute. If I couldn't play that Sankyo and you give me, I don't know, a Muramatsu or a Nagahara or anything, any of those high-level flutes, I'd be able to make it work. They're all incredible instruments.
Of course.
It's the small details that we're choosing after that and the sort
Yes.
of tight personality.
or really the concept, I want a bigger sound, or maybe the blowing hole is a
Yeah.
little smaller, but I like it because it's more sweet.
Yeah.
So there are possibilities.
Yeah, and
luckily.
we do adapt, you're right. That's actually interesting because I feel like my plan changed quite dramatically when I got that Sankyo 5K because I wanted to change. I wanted to sort of make that relationship with the instrument. And I think if I changed my flute tomorrow, I would play in a different style again. But I like that. I like adapting my style a little bit to build this with the relationship with your instrument because it's not just you. You're together on it. You're like, I can't play the flute without the flute, and the flute can't get played without me. So we need both of us.
Exactly. I was one of the first ones also to go back to the wooden flutes.
I know. And
And
Powell, was it a Powell wooden flute?
No, because at that time the orchestra offered us 4 brown flutes.
Okay.
And I thought, oh wow, I want this. And then we got them, 4 of them. And then 2 years later, a couple of years later, a few people from the group said, okay, we would like to have another brand, but I always stayed with brown. And it's
Interesting.
it's very, very good. I recorded the Trockene Blumen on this flute.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Yeah.
And when I played that flute in that piece, I thought, this is what I want.
So the orchestra got that organized for you guys?
Yes, and then a couple of years later, we had new members in the group of the flutes, and I bought the Braun, which I played for 20 years.
Okay.
I bought it for me from the
okay.
orchestra because I was really, it was a relationship, this flute and me. And I thought, no, it has to stay with me.
Yeah.
And I'm still very happy that I keep it.
Interesting. It's a very interesting thing for a lot of Americans, I think, because that concept of your orchestra buying you instruments doesn't really exist in the States. It's a very European thing to have the funding for that. But do you think, just out of curiosity for me, is it important for you when you're playing in the orchestra that all the flutes have the same material?
Not at all, but
okay.
At that time we were doing a lot of very classical music and early like Schumann, Schubert, all the Beethovens we recorded with Philipp Herwege. And he came to us and he said, you guys play well, but you need a wooden flute.
Really? It was his idea then? Okay.
Yes, he came to us and he said, it doesn't blend enough.
Okay.
And so we went trying out. And indeed, we love it. And we've done all the Schuberts, all the Schumanns, all the Beethovens, everything, and all on these flutes.
Interesting.
And with the same flute. So I mean, it's the same make. Yeah.
That's quite rare. I don't think I've ever seen a flute section of entirely wooden flutes
from
the same maker.
We had them.
Okay.
Now some of the colleagues have sold these instruments, but Peter, our piccolo player, and me, we kept it, and we will keep it until we die, I think, because it's a part of me now. It's
and these instruments do have personality, and you do get a connection to them. It's a very sentimental thing. They do feel like living, breathing things. Like when I sold my old Miyazawa a couple of years ago, I sent it to Just Flutes in London, and they sold it on my behalf, and I got an email saying it had been sold. I was like, can I know who sold it? It feels like someone's adopted my baby. Like that flute got me through conservatoire. I had it in Paris, and I want to know where it's went. And I also sold a head joint. I had a Manca head joint, which I sold to someone in Paris a few years ago, and about 3 times a year she sends me a picture of it and tell me all the concerts she did with it.
See?
And I love it. It's nice. It's like my own dog or something. I want to know it's being played, it's being looked after. Because they are very personal things, an instrument.
Yes, totally. It's a voice.
Yeah.
And if it's your voice, you can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
And if it's not your voice, it will never work.
Have you ever had a flute, or have you ever tried a flute where you just went, no, not for me?
Yeah, sometimes I just
What
try and say no.
And why? What's the instant no?
Because the sound which comes out of it is not what I have in my brain.
Okay.
And then I say, it's a great flute, but it's not for me.
Just not for me.
Or it doesn't give me enough possibilities.
Yeah.
Or the basic sound is, I don't know, shrill, or I want something more round, or,
Interesting. And it's not like a material or a maker thing, it's just the actual flute itself? Yeah.
Yes. Because most of them are very different to each other. Yes.
They are. Exactly. You can get the same, like even my Sankyo 5K, I've tried other 5Ks, I'm like, that's nothing like mine at all. Totally different. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because there is a bit of a narrative at the minute of like, I've heard of certain teachers, for example, making sure their students play the same brand of flute as they do and all that kind of stuff. And I think, how can you know that? Like every student, every player is going to enjoy something different. It's very personal.
Yes.
So how can you say with confidence that Muramatsu or Miyazawa are better than the other brands? It's ridiculous. They're all
very
incredible flutes. Okay, Antwerp Symphony, let's talk a little bit about it. How long have you been there now?
I was thinking about that last night, and I think it's...
Because I tried to find information on this. It was actually quite hard to find when you started.
In the orchestra, it must have been 1993 or 4. So it's 31 years now.
Did you not do like a 30-year celebration, or did they not give you a party or a cake or something?
No. I didn't do anything special.
Okay.
No. Now that you say, I would say, well, maybe I should have.
Excuse me.
It's a good idea for next time.
Do you remember your first concert you did with them?
Yes, but I can't remember what we played. You play so much stuff in those years that there is so much, and then you think, was it now or was it a year before?
Yeah. Okay.
No, I can't remember. I can't remember actually.
Do you remember? One thing I love asking orchestral players is, do you remember your first like Daphne solo or your first L'après-midi or these big solos? Do you remember the first time you played them?
not specifically which year, but there was a time where we had conductors we had a few conductors who really worked a lot on that repertoire.
Okay.
And then, then you sort of merge with the music. That means you look for that color, and then you take your color with you, and then you start adapting to the people around you.
Yeah.
And that goes with every style, I think. If you play French music, you will probably play lighter. You will probably not play very loud. You more blending. You're more making one color with everybody. And maybe in modern music, it's much more personal.
Yeah.
Also, where you can do stuff and somebody else does something completely different in the same piece.
Yeah.
So it's really depending, I think, on the repertoire.
Yeah.
That how you blend with your colleagues and with the orchestra, and that's interesting because you have to adapt, which means, again, that tube is very important.
Yeah.
But the end of the story is you with your air and your lips and the love for your instrument.
Exactly. Do you know, I'm just thinking now, and maybe it's a stupid question, but because you're playing in a Belgian orchestra, does that mean you do have to adapt a little bit more? Because Belgium doesn't have as rich a history of composers or musical tradition as France or Germany, which are neighbouring countries. So do you guys think maybe you have to adapt a little bit more or be a little bit more fluid with your styles? Because you know the way French orchestras sometimes sound really French, and some German orchestras sound really German. Is a Belgian orchestra then, is the role to sort of blend?
I think it takes some components from different things.
Yeah.
For example, for articulation, we are very French.
What does that mean?
Very precise. A sound which is really with the center and then a little bit of color around it.
Yeah.
But then other styles, you do something else. Or if you play contemporary, you can go much further in the expression than what you would do with a Brahms symphony.
Yeah.
And we were then very, very trained, of course, with Philippe Herrewege at the orchestra, because he would be there 10 times a year or 8 times a year, and always with the same. He said he was really bringing up the orchestra by doing that repertoire to be super precise, but also how do you make chamber music almost with your colors together. And also, we were talking about articulation. Well, you know, there also we have to adapt. Some play very short. Yeah. Some play with a lot of air. Yeah. Others are very refined, but don't play on air so much. So again, there we have a lot of possibilities, and then you have to sort of sit together and try to work it out so that your group at least is already one entity.
Yeah. How have you seen that changed over your time in the orchestra? Do you think the orchestra's gotten better? Have you seen improvements? Better, it's a hard word to use, but...
Yes, better, and also because when I came there, the hall was really not good. Okay. And we were very lucky that at some point the city, with a lot of sponsors, worked, and also with the politicians, all the regions and the politicians came together and said we need a good hall. Yeah. And we're very fortunate now in Antwerp to have a hall which was made maybe 7-8 years ago. Yeah. And the first time we came in there, we said, oh wow, we're happy with it. Yeah, because sometimes you're not happy with it. It can be a new hall, and then your first rehearsal, everybody says, yeah, but that's not what we wanted. Yeah. But we were very, very happy that it happened. Yeah. And that brought us to the next level.
How does that bring you to the next level? Can you explain that? Like why a new hall suddenly makes an orchestra play better?
Well, first of all, we started always playing, or mostly playing, in our own hall. Mm-hmm. And before, we would go to 4 or 5 venues in 1 week. Okay. Which means you adapt every day. Yeah. And some halls are great, other less. Yeah. It means also every day you have to find your sound, but also your sound in the group together with others. That takes quite a little bit of work. Because,
I can imagine,
because it's different every day. So I think it became much easier for us as musicians in the new hall to actually say, okay, now we know that when you sit on set on the first desk of the flutes, you know where to project your sound, where to put your sound, you know where it has to be sent to, and what you can do. For example, articulation also we have to change. Sometimes for example in Amsterdam, it's a very wealthy acoustic. You have to play
concerto
shorter. You can,
Yeah.
And we go there quite a bit with our orchestra. And of course, you have to change because the hall by itself has so much resonance.
So what's different in the concerto then? What do you?
It has much more reverb, which
Okay.
means you can play much shorter, and it still sounds very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you adapt to what you hear, and you think, oh wow. And then some sounds are too long because the acoustic is overwhelming,
It's
and
too
then
much,
you just reduce it. Yeah. That's why we rehearse in the hall also before the concert.
Do you talk about that with like your colleagues, or do you all just sort of instinctively know to do that?
No, in the beginning, of course, you have to search because you're not used to changing every day. But little by little now, if we go to Amsterdam, we know, okay, let's shorter notes, not too big vibrato, so that in the hall, people who come can really hear what they want to hear.
The reason I'm laughing just because I love football. I'm a big football fan. And I see so many parallels sometimes between classical music and sport, elite level music and elite level sport. And one of the examples is that of just, if you've obviously played with your orchestra in any orchestra for a long time and you regularly tour, it's almost like an away match. You're like, oh, we're going to Amsterdam. We know what it's like in Amsterdam. And the new players are coming in, you're like, you have to be ready for Amsterdam. This is what the hall's like. I love that. And then you go to the new, have you played in like for example, the Philharmonie in Hamburg yet?
No, that one I haven't done yet.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm really curious to see what it's like because everyone's talking about it at
Yes,
the moment, aren't they?
yes. Seems to be very, very, very good. So,
do you have a favourite venue to play in with the orchestra?
Well, Amsterdam, of course, it's beautiful not only for the sound but also for what you see around you.
Incredible, yeah. And it's historical as well, and it's such like a temple of classical music.
And there is also a vibe there, a special vibe. If you see how many incredible conductors were there, from Mengelberg over Haitink, over all these people who are top class,
who have stood like right there when you're playing there. You think if they stood right there,
yes.
Or even you think of the flute players that have played in there as well. They've sat in the seat you're sitting in and performed. It could be it could be overwhelming as well, I'd imagine.
To speak to them?
No, to sort of imagine the past of the hall. Is there a bit of pressure with it sometimes to be like, ooh.
Yes, because you feel you have to do it even more.
Yeah.
So that everybody can really enjoy.
Yeah, it's like a mark of respect almost to that kind of venue.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other venues that you've really enjoyed?
Of course, the halls in Japan, for example. We had a lot of Japan tours, and most of them are magnificent.
Yeah.
Sound-wise, and also what you see. It's very modern. It's new.
Yeah.
So it was always wow. These tours were interesting to see how every hall. And the next one was even bigger and sumptuous than any other one.
I know, and they all seem very modern in Japan as well, and the acoustic design seems incredible.
Yes.
Do you tour often in Japan? Do you guys go there a lot?
In Belgium.
In Japan?
In Japan. Yeah, we went for a while. We went almost every 2 years.
Okay.
And then we did cycles, like we went for all the Beethovens, and we went to 7 or 8 venues, and then a couple of years later, all the Schumanns and.
Yeah, because they love Beethoven in Japan, don't they? I think they have a very special connection as well. I can't remember. Is it Japanese New Year? Has Beethoven 9 played at it? I think there's some kind of connection there. I know Beethoven has particular significance in Japan. I think. Ooh, I'm going to get this wrong now, but one of the big Japanese conductors had brought Beethoven to Japan as well. It might have been Seiji Ozawa.
Possible.
Who brought a lot of recordings, and they really hit off in Japan, and they built a lot of popularity for Beethoven symphonies there. So they're often very played there.
Yeah.
I had a question there just on that I wanted to ask. Oh yeah. So you tour all the time. You've played in these incredible venues. I know it's not going to be easy to pick one or two, but is there at this point, any highlights in the orchestral career? Anything that really stands out? If I said your favourite concert that you've had with your orchestra, is there anything that immediately comes to mind?
Yes. It's a very, very beautiful story, actually. I was in the European Youth Orchestra, and we had the incredible happiness to have Bernard Haitink.
Yes, I read this.
And before the first rehearsal, he comes to me and he says, I don't really know what I have to do, because this orchestra with all of you, I mean, we were 19.
Yeah.
You are so good, and I'm now so nervous.
Bernard,
and I was like,
nervous?
yes. But I found it so humble.
Yeah.
And during the tour, and we had several tours with him, because he was then the chief conductor of EUIO at that moment. And every time it was not about him. It was help the orchestra to make a beautiful concert. Are you comfortable? Is it okay if we do it like this?
Yeah.
You know? And I found, I was 19. I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Somebody like that comes to you and asks, hey, is it okay? Does it work out how we work?
That's
you know?
so sweet.
And that I think this will be one of my last thoughts on earth, maybe later. But really, that touched you, because I hardly dared to say hello, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're 19, it's Baerten, I think.
But it was like, wow, you know? That's human, very human person.
That's very touching as well, that your immediate thought for an orchestral highlight is to go back to the EU Youth Orchestra.
Yes.
Who else was playing flute in the EU Youth Orchestra?
Emily Baerten.
Emily was there as well?
Yes, we were at the same
wow.
time. Then we had Chris, who is now in the opera, piccolo. Chris, the tall guy.
In London?
Yeah.
Chris Green?
Yes, we were there, the same group.
Ah, okay.
So we had a fantastic
Was it just
time.
the three of you for the whole time you were
No,
there?
there was a Danish girl on piccolo, I remember.
Uh-huh.
And we were 5 in the group, but now I sort of forget who was number 5. But we had groups of 5 always.
Yeah.
And who was the number 5? I can't remember. There was a Danish girl also, piccolo. Yes. It was unforgettable.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of the American listeners know about the European Union Youth Orchestra, but it is an incredible project.
Yes.
So the audition I think you do your audition in your local conservatoire, so you do one in Paris or Berlin. I don't know if London's included anymore. I think they're trying to get like some kind of way for British nationals
I hope
to
so.
get in.
Yeah.
But it's obviously just European Union member states that apply for it, which is a beautiful idea of bringing all these great musicians, young musicians together for a world-class orchestra to go on tour. It must be so much fun as well.
Yes.
And you make friendships for life, and all the people from
Yes.
different countries and different languages and different... That must be a blast.
Yes. That's stuff you will never forget.
That's great. I love the idea of the European Union Youth Orchestra. I'm sure there's some great parties at it as well. I'm sure people have a great time at it.
Yes.
And I can't believe Emily was there at the same time. Emily Baerten and you at the same time.
Yeah.
Who played first flute? Do you remember?
We changed around. Yes.
Okay, you switched. Okay.
Yes, we
Okay.
switched. Yeah.
Because it'd be weird to have Emily Baerten as your second flute, wouldn't it?
No, sometimes it's always. We sort of turned around depending on the repertoire,
Okay.
and that was also interesting because they taught us also. Okay, now you're third flute, so it will be different than if you play first, or
Yeah.
you know. And of course, we had a few people who did the piccolo very, very well. I never
Yeah.
played the piccolo a lot, so it was good that real specialists came in, like Chris.
Yeah. He is a
And
great piccolo
we
player.
had him in Antwerp in the school, I think, once for a class.
Oh,
Chris,
okay.
yeah, he came over for a master
I
class.
haven't met him yet, but I'm obviously very familiar with him. He's at the opera, isn't he?
Yes.
Or ENO or
Yes.
No, Covent Garden.
Oh, he's in Covent Garden
Yeah,
now, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so. You teach in London as well a bit, don't you? Or you have taught in London?
I was at what was it called?
Trinity.
Trinity.
Yeah.
But I only did it like a year,
Okay.
and it was a lot of work. I had to start at 5 in the morning to go to the airport or the
You
train.
flew to London?
Or I took the Eurostar,
The Eurostar?
and it was just too much.
Yeah, that does sound too much. Yeah. Okay, because you've taught everywhere and you've played everywhere. Just out of curiosity for myself, when you teach a flute class in London or Germany or Australia or anything like that, do you notice differences in different countries? Is there a cultural difference towards the flute?
You mean playing wise?
Yeah, with the students, the way they play or the way they approach music.
I think in the UK it's more how would I say, relaxed.
Okay.
Where you immediately say your first name,
Yeah.
even to your teacher.
True.
That's okay. It's
True.
okay. I would never ever said the name to my teacher.
Really?
I was with Peter Lucas Graf.
Yes.
It was the big thing that at the end of my 4 years,
Yeah.
he said to me, "Now I'll call you Peluk, which is his small name.
Okay.
Yeah, but before it was always Herr Graaf.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and for me it was okay because I came from Belgium where those things are quite strict.
Okay.
So for me it was okay that it was your teacher was Mr. or Mrs. You know, and now of course it's completely different because
Do
all
your
of my
students call you?
they all say hi, and they say how are you?
It's much more relaxed then.
Yeah, it has changed a lot, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not good or bad. It's just a thing which happens now, and maybe it'll change again at some point. So it's not so important. But it was more, you know, not strict, but you had so much respect for these people that you would not think to say, hey, you know.
Yeah. I think that might be a generational thing as well.
Of course.
I think younger generations, they have a different attitude towards respect in a very healthy way in some places.
Yeah.
So the UK is more relaxed. For example, when you go to teach in Germany, anything particular stand out? Is there a difference between Germany and Belgium when you go to a flute class there?
I think in Germany they still have a lot of Herr und Frau.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and it's okay. I mean, they when I taught there, they would sometimes call me professor. Or when I have British students or Americans, I also say, oh, don't do this thing with a professor all the time.
Yeah.
But some people have it in them, and that's okay. They've been brought up like that.
Yeah, and it's
you just go with the flow with them, and if they're happy with that, that's okay.
And if it's a mark of respect for them, then we can respect that. That's a very pretty thing. But in terms of the style of flute playing, then as well, do you notice anything different when you go to German classes, English classes?
Yeah, maybe more relaxed in the UK.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I can't really comment on it because I feel like maybe 15 years ago it would have been different.
Yes.
But the words are becoming so small now that it's all kind of blended into one.
Yes.
And when you go to a flute class in Trinity or Royal Academy, it's not just British students anymore.
No,
it's a total mix. And when you go anywhere, you come to Germany, it's not just German students anymore. So I think like everything's sort of morphed into one.
It's a big mix. Yeah, it's interesting also. Yeah. I have for the first time quite a couple of Italians.
Okay.
And it's a different flute school.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and the level is very high, and I enjoy it. And they're different in their approach of sound, for example, or even articulation.
Yeah.
But most of them then go back to their own country.
Yeah.
To play again in their own country. So we shouldn't change everything.
No, and it's fun to watch. Actually, when you say Italian, that's the one I notice the biggest difference in. When I hear Italian flute players, I love them. You can hear if they've came from either David Formizano or Andrea Oliva, and you can hear that kind of sound. But it sounds very like James Galway to me as well. You can see the direct influence of Jimmy on it. So there's like big vibrato and big heavy sounds and really virtuosic. And I love it. I really love hearing Italian flute players, and they've got that kind of attitude towards music of not arrogance but very confident.
Yeah, and a lot of what they do comes from opera and singing, and that's really fantastic. If you hear their arias, and and the Italians make it so fantastically beautiful, it gives us a big lesson when you play the flute.
Yeah,
and you listen to recordings. Then it's really interesting to take it a little bit into your playing,
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, like I remember my teacher in Paris. She was principal with the opera, Paris Opera. She just retired a couple of years ago. And when she was talking about music, she would always say the best thing is go listen to the great singers instead. Don't listen to flute players. Flute players are great, don't get me wrong, but go listen to like Pavarotti. She was a huge Pavarotti fan. Said if you can recreate that in the flute, you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah.
And who was your teacher?
Catherine Cantan.
Ah, yes. So I heard a lot about her. The Concert à Quatre, I think.
Yes, was written for her.
Yes, I played it a few times with our orchestra. Okay. But I remember that I listened to her recording when I started studying the score, and I thought, wow, what a fantastic piece.
That's interesting, because Messiaen wrote that. I think it was her, Heinz Holliger, Rostropovich, and I can't remember the last player. Oh, it was for his wife. I think it was Yvonne Loriot.
Probably.
I think it was, yeah. I don't know if he finished it or not, or he got close to finishing it, but she always, because she rehearsed Le Mel Noel as well with him and knew Messiaen quite well. That was fascinating. Like when she told those kind of stories, I would just be like, right, forget about the flute, just tell me all about Messiaen. It was incredible. And feeling connected to that, to be like, my teacher, this piece was written for her, that's class. Like that was so good for me studying in Paris. But yeah, that's a great piece as well, the Concerto Cat. It's not very often played.
No, unfortunately.
But I love Messiaen's music.
Yes.
Have you got to play the Turangalila Symphony with your orchestra?
No, I don't think we did it.
The Messiaen Symphony? Oh, it's great. Not very often played anymore, which I find a real shame, but...
Yeah, because people think it's difficult music, which is actually not, because it's a lot of colors, and if you try to imagine what actually happens behind those notes on the paper, there is so much that you can never get bored.
No, oh my god, I think Messiaen's the farthest away from boring for me. I love that whole period of French music. It's incredible. I want to ask you some fun questions to end. I have like a little quick fire question thing. I'm just going to check the time. Yeah. But before that, actually, we talked about some of your orchestral highlights. Just out of curiosity, is there anything you hope that you haven't played, either with the orchestra or as a soloist, that you think, I still want to do that? Any like gold still?
I would love to do the Reinecke concerto.
You haven't done it yet?
No.
Really? Okay.
And it's such a beautiful and such well-written piece. And we don't have that much interesting in that
like
era.
Romantic, German.
And if you can do that would be fantastic. Okay. But let's see if it comes up.
No offers yet then? No one sent you an email yet? Well, you never know, after this podcast you might get a couple of people topping in. If anyone knows an orchestra looking to play the Reinecke.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a great piece. I think the last time I heard it was Andreas Blau did it with his leaving concert with the Berlin Phil.
Yes.
And that was incredible because like not to be mean, but you don't normally get the world's best orchestras playing it. Because they don't want concertos very often. So to hear the Berlin Phil with Andreas Blau, that was like, it changed my opinion on that piece entirely, because I'd only heard it with lower level orchestras, but to hear one of the best orchestras, or maybe the best orchestra in the world playing it, the colours and the richness of it, I love it. And I love that kind of music. I love when it's super romantic and juicy and cheesy. It's,
And we don't have that much, so we really have to cherish that one. Yeah.
Have you played the Mercadante concertos? Have you got a chance to do them?
I think I did one Mozart and one part of it. We had a series with the orchestra where there were one movements per piece, and it was on Saturdays at 1 or something.
Nice. Yeah.
And so one movement was enough.
Okay. Do you know which one it was?
Probably
that E minor one was.
Yes, of course. Yes.
That's great. When you're talking about Italian stuff, to me, that's pure Italian.
Of course.
It's great. Yeah. It's wonderful music. Okay, before we get to the fun questions, like the quick fire ones, while you've got the listeners listening to you, just quickly, do you want to plug anything? Do you want to tell them, want to check anything out, or your website, or one thing? Actually, I'm going to plug on your behalf quickly because we didn't get to talk about it fully, but your Trockneblumen recording, which is from, I think 2010, am I right in saying? Was nominated for a BBC Music Award. That's the first place to go. Although when you put your name into Spotify, that's the first thing that comes up. It's actually got a lot of listens to it as well. So I'm going to plug that for you, and then if you want to tell them anything else, go ahead.
That was recorded on the wooden flute.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, and I think it was something special at that time. I think it was the first time somebody did it on a wooden flute.
Okay.
And now more people do it, but also, of course, the quality of the pianist was at such high level that it was incredible.
Did you know when you were recording it, like, oh, this is special? Did you get that feeling?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the pianist and his wife, we met. They fell in love at the moment where we played together.
Oh, really?
And it's a beautiful story. But they got married. I think they have 4 children now. Yes.
Wow.
And I played. I knew about her because she had played with her orchestra. But then he came in.
Okay.
For some concerto.
Yeah.
And then they asked us, why wouldn't you do a recording of Trockneblumen? I thought, help. I mean. Let's be honest, it's a big piece.
It is.
But luckily I had him on the piano, and it was magnificent.
Yeah.
And of course, he loves Schubert.
Okay.
He didn't just do it to play for anyone.
Yeah.
He loved this piece. And so we worked a lot. We were in this festival from Philipp Herrewege in the summer, where the orchestra played, and we started rehearsing there.
Okay.
And then a couple of times we met up, also in Brussels, and then at some point we took a couple of days to just record it. Yeah?
Okay.
And that was a one thing in life, that such a pianist wants to do it on a good label also.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
And I can't remember how much, but it was an enormous amount was sold. Like,
Yeah, because there's also the Trout Quintet and stuff on that record. So
if I say 15,000, it's maybe nothing or it's a lot, but for me,
Sounds like
it came. And then the funny thing is that at some point, I had sold all of them, and I ordered, I don't know, 200.
Yeah.
And from those 200, only 2 left anymore.
Wow,
because
okay.
the hype was over, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
And then it was over. But the first time we made it, it was really everywhere. And it's a good firm. It was a good company who made it.
Yeah.
And so we were really lucky to be able to do this.
do you still get asked about it? Do you still get people coming up and saying, "Oh, I've got your album from 2010"?
Yeah. But now, of course, nobody has CD
I know. Well, this
readers
is it, yeah.
anymore. So this is
Everyone's
over.
on Spotify, yeah. But it is your top one on Spotify, so it's obviously getting popularity there as well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Well, then that's what to check out, definitely. If anyone hasn't heard it, just stick in Aldo's name, you'll find it. It's great. Okay, I'm going to ask some quick fire questions. You don't have to be stressed about it. They're just fun questions I ask all my guests at the end. Do you have a favourite flute concerto?
Ibert.
Really? Okay. Thank you for picking an answer. A lot of people don't pick an answer. Do you remember the first flute album or CD or vinyl that you bought?
Yes, there was a guy in Holland called Thijs van Leer,
Okay.
and he made popular music
Okay.
with some electronic stuff.
Okay.
70s, 80s,
Yeah.
you know. And of course, you heard this flute, and this was probably it had reverb on it. Yeah?
So it wasn't like classical music at all?
No,
It was,
no.
Okay.
We listened to classical music all the time at home. We
Yeah.
had 2 pianos in the house, and so I was busy with music all the time.
Yeah.
And then the flute, of course, stole me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, beautiful phrase.
yeah, that's how it actually happens. No, this is what I'm gonna play.
Like, oh, all right, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to now.
Yeah,
It's like falling in love.
yeah.
You don't get a say in it, really, do you? You're sort of stuck with it. So yeah, you fell in love, and then tell me about this disco flute thing, this recording, the album.
Yes, and it was kind of lighter music, and I was very attracted to that sound. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got more and more listening to classical music, but also other types of music. And when there was a flute in it, it was always
It was obviously great, yeah.
It was the thing.
And what's the guy's name again? Tess?
Thijs van Leer.
Okay, I'm going to have
He
to
was
check
Dutch.
that out. Okay.
Yeah. And there was also a lady, Berdien Stenberg. Does that ring you a bell?
No.
She must be 60 now. And she came 2 years ago to we have a summer class in
Yeah.
Bruges, and she came as a guest to work with our little ones.
Okay.
She worked for 2 days,
Yeah.
just with kids from 5 till 12
Yes,
years.
okay, well, yeah.
And it was fun to actually have then the contact of the person I listened to for
Isn't
25
that
years.
crazy? Yeah.
And then I thought, if we need somebody one day,
Yeah.
we'll get her. And she came.
Yeah, so you had one of her albums from when you were younger then as well?
All of them.
Oh, wow, okay. I'm not familiar with her as well. Is she Belgian?
Dutch.
Dutch as well?
Dutch,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to have to listen to that as well then. Oh, but that's cute. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, most people's first flute albums is usually like Jimmy or Rampal or one of these guys, but everyone has like one slightly more obscure one. We always find one. Like for me, it was always Raphael Trevisani. I loved him. And if I could meet him, I'd be delighted. And everyone always has that one on the side that you never forget. And I love when you get to actually meet them later in life. You're like, oh, man, I was 15, I was listening to you all the time.
Yeah,
like
of
a
course.
rock star.
Of course. You learn by copying first.
Exactly.
And then you go into your own thing.
And you fall in love so much with these recordings when you're at that age. Like they become your standards.
Yes.
And you'll always love them. Like Trevisani, no matter what he does, if I found his playing now, maybe I wouldn't be as much of a fan. Because I was at that age, it's perfect playing for me. I was always trying to copy it, so it's just, and it was the first one I found. That was just why I got it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have that.
I had that with Peter Lucas Graf. I had, when I was in the music school, I was every year the best woodwind student, and then they would every year I had a LP from Peter Lucas Graf.
Okay, as a prize then.
Yes, as
okay.
You had a good mark, and then you would get
That's great.
not a CD at that time, but a black vinyl one.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I thought, oh, where is he teaching actually? Oh, in Basel. Oh, let me try the entrance exam, and there I was.
And that was it?
Yes.
But then you're like, man, I've got like 10 of your LPs at home as well. It's so fun to go and meet someone with that. Yeah. See, I love that. I love those nice stories.
Connections.
Okay. Do you remember the first album in general that you bought? So it doesn't have to be classical music or flute. Do you remember your first ever
No,
album?
I think it was probably
The same
this.
one then?
Yeah, because it was the first thing, and we also this LP, thing
Yeah.
machine, which was pretty new also.
Yeah.
And that was it. I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
great one. Okay, new question I started asking people. If you had to do karaoke, what song would you sing? Do you do karaoke?
No.
You don't look a karaoke guy. No?
But I do sing a lot.
Okay.
But it's mostly just stuff which I hear, and then I just
Repeat it, yeah.
in the car, and you give
Okay.
the basis with your foot.
Okay, so when you're in the car and you've got like a big drive ahead of you, are you listening to classical music or are you sticking
No,
on
never
some-
classical music.
What do you listen to?
Pop music.
What kind of pop music? Anything? What have you listened to recently?
I don't know. It could have been the Beatles. It could have been. There are some. Yes, whatever
Big
came.
taste,
And
yeah.
usually I listen to the radio
Oh, really? Okay.
in the car, and that's a different thing which I listen to than when I'm home. At home, I would put a classical.
album on, yeah.
But when I'm in the car and I've had a couple of hours of
Yeah.
classical music and teaching, and
You need the-
then
yeah.
I go to something else.
Wash the brain, yeah.
Or nothing, and
Okay.
it's complete silence.
Okay.
Or I go really back to just something I can sing along with,
Yeah.
driving home and being happy to get home.
It's so interesting hearing what classical musicians listen to outside of classical music. Some of the answers I've got to this question have been ludicrous. Some of them are crazy. But it's so funny to hear because some people listen to like really different stuff. Because I think everyone assumes classical musicians just listen to classical music or maybe a bit of jazz. They're like, oh, jazz and classical, those are like the fine art ones. Like, no, we listen to
everything.
awful music as well.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah.
favorite band in the world is the Spice Girls. I love the Spice Girls. I will never not love them. And it's but you need to get away from classical music. If you're doing Beethoven and Mozart and Bach all day, you need to wash your brain a bit and just switch off a bit. I don't want intellectual music all the time.
No,
Sometimes I want fun.
No. And also this balance between different
Yeah.
styles is interesting. Yeah,
It is.
You can't listen to Beethoven 17 hours in a day.
No.
But it's good to you have such a variety now in music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Now
fun
even
to go and discover. It's all just on your thumb. When you always pick it out of the pocket, you got the entire history of the world of music. It's a little bit overwhelming though as well.
strange.
But yeah.
Strange, but very good because I mean, we have a luxurious
We do.
time. Yeah.
We do. It's maybe too much luxury sometimes, but yeah. Okay, if you could switch instruments but still be as good as you are in the flute, what would you play instead?
Cello.
I knew I was just about to say you're going to say cello. I knew you were going to say cello. You've got cello written all over you.
I also lived together with a cellist at some point for quite a long time.
Oh, okay.
And so I think flute and cello are quite balanced because you have the high notes.
Yeah, and
then you have this
the richness.
this richness. Yeah, that's
They
fantastic.
go well together, yeah.
Yeah.
Most people say cello. A lot of flute players say cello. I don't know why, but I can spot the ones that are going to say cello. Now, I've done these interviews like 40 times now. I can see when someone's going to say cello. And I'm just sure. Okay, if you had to do a career outside of music entirely, what would you do? So nothing to do with music. If you had to switch careers, what would you do?
Actually, what I wanted to do before I actually even thought about doing music, I was in an international school in Brussels, and I wanted to travel and become a diplomat.
A diplomat, okay.
Yes. So I was at the European school, and of course there was an incredible mix of, at that time we were 9 countries in the system, but I found it so magnificent. I like languages.
Yeah.
And so I found it incredible to be in that kind of, and everything came with language and singing.
So interesting. Okay.
I sang always in the car, and I got told off from my in primary school because I was
You're
singing
all the time?
We had to paint and draw.
Yeah,
That's not my thing.
he was like,
but I was singing at the same time, and they threw me out of
Which
the
is a
room.
bit
You know.
annoying to everyone else, yeah.
So yes, I would do something like that, or I would do something, I don't know, something like with languages anyway.
Okay.
Because
How
I
many
love
languages
it.
do you speak?
4.
Okay, so are you from the part of Brussels where Flemish?
Yes, Flemish, French, German, English. I did some Swedish at some point,
Oh,
but
really?
then now it's gone for a long
Okay.
time because I like Sweden a lot, and that's something I would do after my flute playing later. I would learn a language maybe again.
Another language, yeah. Did you speak French, English, and Flemish growing up, or did you?
No, I was in an international school, and so we had very early, already in the first year when we were 6, 7, we already had a second language, and then 2 years later another one, and you could go up till 4 languages.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's one massive skill. I think especially for English speakers, native English speakers, to learn more languages. The world opens up entirely when you learn a new language.
Totally.
When I learned French, the whole world changed, and now German's getting there. German's hard, but I'm getting there with it. But the whole world just changes.
The grammar is more difficult, I find. English has a grammar which you can use immediately.
Yes.
And with the derde das, and you have to learn all the rules, it's impossible to learn it quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why English is fantastic, because it's in French they say passe-partout.
Yeah.
You can do it everywhere.
That is very true. Yeah, the derde das, man. Because I'm Irish, and communication is so important to Irish people. We love talking, and I don't, like, my English isn't great. It's my native language. My English isn't very good, so I'm not worried if my German's bad. So when it comes to derde das, I just pick one. I'll just guess.
Yeah.
And if it's the wrong one, who cares? And I just need to communicate.
Yeah.
So I don't really, my German is not academic. My French as well. I'm very good at talking in French. My written French is awful.
It's difficult. French is very difficult.
To write.
With all the rules and the participe, passé. Very difficult.
But what I like about French is when you actually learn it in conversational French, really. There's a lot of there's a lot of that. You just get away with that. That's a conversation in French. I love it as a language for that. Okay, 2 questions left. If you could have a drink with any musician, alive or dead, who would it be? That's a very hard question. But
Debussy.
Debussy? Okay, first person to say Debussy. Why?
It's the flute.
Just go chat about flute stuff, yeah? You ask him about Hanks.
There is so much.
Yeah.
In the orchestra, out of the orchestra, all the chamber music.
Yeah.
There is so well. There's not that much, but for such a small instrument, there is a lot.
So would you chat? Would you ask him about the flute then? Ask him all kinds of questions about why he wrote for the flute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To understand what he did and how he did it and why he did it and.
Why is the big one? Yeah, why did you bother? Yeah, and I think it'd be fun to have a drink with. I think Debussy would be fun. I'd probably have a glass of red wine with Debussy, something.
Of course, nothing else.
You wouldn't have beer with
Not a
Debussy,
beer. Not a beer.
You couldn't have a pint of Guinness with Debussy now. Well, that sounds fun. Yeah, it'd be a nice bottle of Beaujolais or something. And
yeah.
And the very last question then, which I ask everybody: what is your favourite drink? And it can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic.
Champagne.
Oh, yeah, man after my own heart. I love champagne. I love it. Do you drink Sekt as well?
Yes.
Okay, but
no.
I don't. German Sekt is not the same.
No,
I need champagne.
It's more sweet.
Yeah,
and the real one is bubbly and it stays so long on your tongue. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a sucker for it. That's a great answer. Okay, then we're nearly done. We're done actually. Is there? Yeah, nothing left to plug. So, unless there's anything you want to say to the guests. The listeners?
I enjoyed it a lot. It was interesting.
That was a lot of fun. Also
to think about a couple of things I don't think about anymore because there's daily stuff.
I know.
And when you ask a question, I think, I would have forgotten probably about this item. Yeah.
This is why I did the podcast as well, is because we all know the top players as players, but you don't get to hear about them as people.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I to be honest, I do this for me, and then these guys are listening. I do this because I love doing this, and it's a lot of fun. And then those guys, it's a benefit. But I've got to interview all my favorite players, and it's been so much fun learning about them, listening to what they, what kind of music they listen to, what their favorite concert was. These are things that otherwise I'd have to go book a lesson with them and talk to them about it. But I get to do it through a podcast.
That's also a good point of all these meetings we do with the flute players.
Yeah.
You meet people which I would never have thought.
Isn't it amazing?
Of course, Jimmy, for example, is always at the NFA. But there's a lot of people, names I knew from CDs and everything, and all of a sudden they were standing in front of you.
It is
and
amazing.
you could really talk to them. And a lot of them I'm still in contact with.
It's amazing.
And that's thanks to this little tube.
I know. That blows my mind. Like, if I didn't play the flute, I wouldn't have lived in 4 different countries, and I wouldn't have spoken these different languages and met all these interesting people, all just because of a flute.
Of course.
So it's great. That's the biggest benefit of music for me, is I got to travel the world with it.
I agree.
Yeah, up the flute. It's great. Well then, Aldo, thank you very, very, very much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you next week. Ciao.
Get your man the flute to play, so handy fuck.